Could be. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. This is going to be the final interview of the day. And, of course, you saved the best for last for day number 4 here on Radio Row at the Moscone Convention Center in San Francisco, California. DeMaurice Smith. And with me, of course, people – last time I talked to him, we were in Kansas City at Gates Barbecue.
We're at Gates, eating, loving it.
And speaking of, I got a little something for you, too, before we get out of here from Gates.
Oh.
Just
sir.
Just a little something, what I'm saying.
Oh, yes, sir.
A little something for you for
yes,
sir.
For
the food. DeMaurice Smith, we are joined by, and he is the former executive director of the NFL Players Association, and we were kind of joking about it when we talked in the aisle. But you do look so much younger, so much drier. Look like you probably lost some weight, from that time period.
I don't have all that weight and stress.
Yeah, well, especially the stress part. So, first of all, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to join me on Radio Row. But how has life been treating you since that time you have departed from the Association?
I've been blessed. Look, my daughter got married Christmas of last year.
I saw photos.
And, great dude. Enjoying teaching. So I'm between the East Coast and West Coast, teaching at Pepperdine. It's not bad in Malibu. I know that's going to come as a shock to a lot of people. It's not bad, but I do it for the kids.
Yeah, of
course. I do it for the kids.
Well, that's what we tell ourselves.
That's what I tell my wife. And then, of course, I'm really proud of the book. Turf Wars came out August 5th, doing really well. I'm going around the country on a book tour. I wanted to write a book that wasn't a football book. It's about race, power, gender, in America through the eyes of the National Football League. I had a pleasure of representing the players for 15 years. And, a lot of those were episodic battles, Bounty, Deflategate, representing Colin Kaepernick, representing the players in Anthem, COVID, 2 collective bargaining agreements, all the while negotiating with, owners like Clark Hunt and the other 31. There are themes of power and race and class that come from that. So I'm really proud of it. I wanted to write a book that I throw some haymakers.
Oh, I've heard.
Throw some haymakers, but also
deservedly so.
And I wanted to be equally hard on myself.
When you were looking back, and again, you were over the Players Association for 15 years, what are some things that you regret not being able to get done over the 2 collective bargaining agreements?
Not so much the agreements themselves. I mean, there's always, I always regret that we don't have 70% of all revenue. You always regret that you didn't get a lot of the things that you wanted. What I regret the most, though, is not so much the individual details of the collective bargaining agreement. I was proud of the times when I was able to get the players wound up enough to take collective action.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And, for example, one great example of that was, we do the 2020 deal. And literally 2 days later, COVID shuts down America. We were the only sport in the country where the players got 100% of the salary that was due to them, even though the National Football League lost $4 billion that year. We canceled most of training camp, most of the offseason. We canceled the preseason games. Look, that doesn't come because D. Smith is some silver-tongued devil, with the owners. Real leaders stood up. I mean, Tom Brady stood up. Mahomes stood up. Guys stood up across the league and said that, off-season workouts didn't make any sense. That preseason games didn't make any sense. So, looking back on it, I always have a regret when I wasn't able to get the players to do something. I still look back and my personal failure. OTAs are voluntary, off-season, and unpaid, right? And
that OTA because of voluntary, mandatory, boy.
And except for some teams, and frankly, the Chiefs are one of those teams where a lot of players have off-season workout bonuses.
Yeah.
And in that case, go get your money. You don't have a problem with that. But my guess would be 85 to 90% of the rest of the players in the National Football League do not get paid for OTAs. Man, can you imagine how crazy it would make the owners and the coaches if the players decided not to go? Yeah. Can you imagine the leverage that you would have? So I always look back and I think about those things that, maybe I could have done this differently, or maybe I could have done that differently. I never apologize for being a leader. Never apologize for going into locker rooms and going hard. I expected a lot out of players, perhaps too much. But until someone expects it, you don't understand how much you owe somebody like John Mackey or somebody like Reggie White. Players need to understand, and I didn't ever shy away, that, those strikes in the 80s and the 90s, those strikes didn't achieve everything that the players wanted. And to some extent, they failed, primarily because high-profile players like Joe Montana crossed the picket line. Mm-hmm. Just keeping it real.
Got to.
But you know what? They all voted to go on strike. They all voted to do something that hurt in order to give themselves leverage. And I look back now, my job was to try to get that done either on the field or through the players. And obviously, as every owner knows, I didn't shy away from suing the National Football League when I thought it was important. I sued them for antitrust and collusion. I don't know. I can't even remember. But why? The most important piece of leverage, other than player solidarity, the most important piece of leverage in the history of any players' union is collusion. Think about it. Collusion. Yes, the players went on strike. MLB players went on strike in 1994, and everybody talks about the strike. Nobody remembers that they had won 3 collusion cases up to that point. Mm. John Mackey sacrifices his career to file a collusion case for free agency. It starts in 1971. It ends in 1993. Reggie White wins the collusion. Yep. I'm sorry, Reggie White becomes the head of the class action. Why? Because Freeman McNeil, the running back from the Jets, filed what? A collusion case.
Hey, correct me wrong, Mark Collins was a part of that as well.
Yes.
Yeah. That's my guy.
So if you look at baseball, football, and all the other sports, other than player action, the most significant lever, the biggest lever you ever have, is finding the National Football League to have engaged in some type of collusion. So I filed the last collusion case against the league before I left. The decision came out after I left. And as you know, a lot of reporting by Don Van Natta and Pablo Torre
and Mike Florio,
about the fact that collusion case was kept secret.
And let me jump in, because this, to me, where the state of journalism has failed. Because had it gone in any other, had it gone against Players Association,
100%,
the NFL would have made sure that Fox, CBS, Fox,
all over
it. Everybody would have reported and talked about it, and then they would have been talking about the lack of leadership.
100%.
Plus, they would have been trying to blame you for bringing a lawsuit against them.
100%.
However, when all that came out, trust me, day in and day out, I was trying to look. I tagged, and I'm gonna talk to him tomorrow. I'm gonna talk to Stephen A. Smith tomorrow.
Yep.
But Nick Wright, everybody from Fox Sports, nobody brought nobody to. And if they did, it was just an oversight.
Failure of leadership.
Yeah.
Right. And look, I got used to the double standard when I was there for 15 years. If you want to talk about the cases we won, you'd have to dig, 10, 15, 30 feet under the ground. If it was a case that I lost, it's all over the place. And hey, D. Smith just wants to litigate rather than negotiate. When that when that decision came out, and I read it, like everybody else for the first time from Pablo and from Florio and Van Natta, the fact that an arbitrator ruled that the management council urged teams do guaranteed contracts. I can't opine because I don't understand the decisions that are made by the people who were at the NFLPA at the time. I just don't understand it, and I don't want to go down that road. But I will tell you what I would have done. Once you have that decision in hand, I would have viewed it that you have an obligation to file on behalf of all players, probably up until Kirk Cousins got his first guaranteed contract. Why? Because you don't know what's in the discovery.
Mm-hmm.
You've got a ruling from an arbitrator that the management council, the board of directors, urged teams not to give guaranteed contracts. He didn't say when it started. So if you have any evidence whatsoever to file on behalf of those players going back, I would have viewed it as my duty as a lawyer and my duty as the head of the NFLPA to file that case.
See, and what I hate about it is because when that came out, when it was like in the off season. So at that time, Super Bowl's already done. There's no way I can,
right.
I can ask Patrick Mahomes about his thoughts about it because, if anybody should have gotten one, it would have been him at the time, first Super Bowl.
100%.
But you and I had the conversation literally at Gates Barbecue when we talked about Lamar Jackson getting the fully guaranteed, and what ended up happening was
the great Mike Locksley.
Oh yeah, and when they didn't give it to him, and it was because, first of all, when they gave to Deshaun Watson the fully guaranteed deal, owners was obviously livid,
right.
and owners such as Steve Bisciotti went after him, was like
publicly,
so we knew then that
right.
it was going to take place.
Right.
It was taking place in the public setting, and then for things to play out the way they did, gross negligence, and
I can't say it.
You
can say it. I can't say it.
We talk about it off air, but it's
well. And what I would say here is, man, I was blessed to have such great player leaders.
Yeah.
I look back.
We met talking to earlier. Well,
and guys who were on the executive committee who wanted to know everything. And I don't understand how a group of people apparently never, I would have asked to read the decision.
Yeah.
You've got a group of player leaders. And by the way, I had aggressive dudes and it was great. I had Richard Sherman, Greg Olson, was a player leader. Guys like Kevin Mawai, those were guys that I could always rely on to hold me accountable, to be transparent. And those were the guys who would be asking questions, demanding answers. Ryan Clark is a hard dude to work for. But at the end of the day, guys like Ryan and guys like Chris Long, those were guys that demanded to know what was going on in their union. And I look back and yes, could they wear me out some days? Yes, they could.
But it made your job better for you.
It made my job better because if anything came out about a lawsuit that we had filed, they wanted to know the answer. If we won, that was great. If we lost, they wanted to know why we lost. But they were also good with the fact that it is the role of the union to file these lawsuits, to hold the NFL accountable. And they also understood that the only people holding the NFL accountable is this players union.
Yeah.
So I don't understand a secret deal between the union and the people you're supposed to hold accountable. I don't understand how you think about statutes of limitations?
I couldn't understand a player executive director that was trying to get involved with buying an NFL team, but that's neither here nor there either.
Once again, you know, you look at leadership is hard. Leadership is hard, and the beauty of my 15 years, starting from, you know, guys like Dominique Foxworth and Jeff Saturday and Mawai, and think about this. Mike Vrabel was on the executive committee that elected me. And look at that guy now. I mean, the level of pride that I had watching D'Amico Ryans, who was a rep, coach a playoff game against Mike Vrabel, who was a rep. Man, I know real leaders when I see them.
Yep.
And the way they held me accountable, and the way that they understood that they had the title of being the vice president of the union. They understood the title, but more importantly, they understood the job.
Yeah. I've got, look, man,
that's why I love talking to you, man, because
man,
how many other people are going to touch this?
I can't speak for nobody else, but, you know, I'm not afraid to dive into this stuff.
No.
So, and because it has to get out in the open. Look, that's one of the reasons why Chiefs PR hate to see me come from time to time.
Well, sometimes I got to get somebody to start my car, so I know the feeling.
Look, man. So I mean, and it's funny because you were always accessible. I remember if I shot your text, call, Dan, I got you, I'll do it. You know, no problem. When I met Hal a couple of years ago, I guess it was in Vegas when he became the executive. They said he was going to bring him by, let us interview him. The only time I talked to him was last year at the NFLPA, where I had to question him about the 18 games and a whole bunch of other stuff because of what he said, coaching. You can't say this, I will. The leadership that is direly lacking, and I am afraid because I used to get on some of the players at the Chiefs talking about 18 games like it was nothing. I'm like, bro, you're a 7th-round draft pick. You need to worry about getting a second contract.
Correct.
Let alone
Correct.
giving the owners an extra game for free where you ain't getting nothing. So I fear that, well, look, I remember 2 years ago when I questioned Goodell in Las Vegas, and I asked him about, you know, about greed, about these streaming, you know, because the game was on. Yep. The game was on Peacock. Yep. The Chiefs game, and I'm like, how much money is too much money for you all? Oh, and, you know, and he makes it, you know, 80%. I don't care about what is on over there TV. I'm talking about you trying to price the consumer out. Says one thing, next thing you know, Christmas game on Netflix. You know, yeah. Amazon Prime, like, bro, and then, you know, then of course you talk a race with them. They, you know, now they freeze you out of the press conference, so you can't show up at all to ask questions. I'm looking at this leadership, and I mean, Bob Kraft has not been shy about it. He's been publicly open talking about 18 games and every team playing overseas when we get the 18 games. I know it's a matter of time. They can do all the two-stepping that they want in this week about the players don't have an appetite for it. Last year you said something different. Granted, it's a different leadership. This year, just because you have a different leadership and you saying something different, I don't feel the confidence. And to be honest, too many players get asked about it where they're just flippant about, I mean, we get an extra bye week. Like, bro, it's more than just an extra bye week.
The bye week is meaningless.
I mean, exactly. I mean, that's just more to me. You're not even thinking about what it's going to look like when you get through playing.
Right.
You know, you and I have talked about the 5 years that you get with insurance. Like the commissioner gets lifetime insurance, use of the jet and all this other stuff, and gets paid handsomely. Like
he does okay.
He's right. Fine. He's fine.
Here's where I come.
The leadership is I can't.
I look back. I mean, let's just take your team. When we were going through the lockout, 2009, let's just say 2009 to 2012, getting ready for the lockout and then fighting our way, out of the lockout. That locker room of Kelsey, Mahomes, I think at the time was probably the youngest rep that had ever been elected. His dad goes through the strike as a baseball player, right? You've got, guys in that locker room like Lars de Tiffany, who's
doctor,
the doctor
up in Canada.
You've got Jason Babin, right? So, I know what it was like to go into those locker rooms and spend an hour and a half doing a presentation to players about how the economics works. How does this whole thing work? And I'll never forget talking to players in, between 2009 and 2013, because while we were locked out and while we were in a fight literally for our existence, one of the, if not the most important thing the players won in that 2011 CBA is the right to veto extra games. Up until that point, I'm not going to date us.
Right.
Up until that point, there was a 12-game season, there was a 14-game season, there was a 16-game season. Players didn't understand, and by the way, I'm sure fans didn't understand, that when the league went from 12 games to 16 games, they never increased the player's share of revenue. So they played 2 extra games for free between 12 and 14. You played 2 extra games for free from 14 to 16. In 2011, and the reason that worked is the league had the unilateral right to add as many games as they want.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just say it in the reverse way. If we hadn't changed that in 2011, players would be playing 25 games right now. Right?
Yep.
So 2011, we win the right to control the work. And that was because the dudes that I mentioned in that locker room understood it, cared about it, and understood that we weren't going to give in. When the NFL leadership now starts talking about 18 games, right? What they are doing is they're just slowly conditioning players that this is a thing that is going to happen.
Fans too, yeah.
It's a thing that has to happen. You'll make more money. It'll be okay. Well, just economically, let's put it in a frame. Because we won the right to our work, Roger Goodell and the owners had to buy the 17th game in 2020 for about $1.6, $1.8 billion. It was a game they had for free in 2011. So every now and then when I need to do a little bit of a happy dance, you know what I mean? Just a little bit of, you know what I'm saying? You walk into a meeting, you see a couple owners, you'd be like, what's up, champion?
What up, dog?
What's up, dog? You paid almost $2 billion for a game you had for free in 2011. The players understood that. The players understood that in 2011. What the league is now doing is hoping the players don't understand that if they paid $1.7 billion for the 17th game, economically, what's the 18th game worth? A bye week? Shorter training camp?
Oh, but all of that look, they'll get that up quick.
100%.
That's all you want. I'm like,
right.
Look, first of all, at a minimum, at a minimum, that 18th game can cost you 3.4.
100%.
It's going to cost you 3 points. It's going to cost you twice.
It's going to cost you
at least.
It's going to cost you 2.5 percentage points. Right.
I mean, and think about it. I mean, first of all, every team is going to be based on what they want. Every team's going to have to go, around the world somewhere playing a game. Plus, look, I need money. I need lots of it.
Yeah.
But on top of that, again, see, for me, I'm thinking about it because we've had this conversation. I need health insurance.
Right.
And I need some guaranteed contract. Don't
get me going.
Because for the life of me, man, look, I talk to these players and I'm just like, it pisses me off because, I think about Jawan Taylor. Now, Jawan Taylor's money is pretty simple. 4 years, $80 million, $60 million guaranteed. That guaranteed money comes first 3 years. So he's going to get cut, June 1st, whatever. Well, the Chiefs saved $20 million. So he's not going to see that. So again, it bothers me. Like, why are you all signing deals that are helping the team? It's not helping you. It's helping. Yes, you're getting your guaranteed money. and you get it in so many ways.
But it's in the form of a roster bonus.
Exactly.
That look, I lived it for 15 years.
I know.
And look, you have to have players who want to fight for guaranteed contracts, but you also have to make sure that the owners are not colluding against them. That's why I filed the second part of the lawsuit, right? And so when it comes to the 18th game, remember, and I remember talking to the players about this in 18, 19, leading up to 20. There's always the other option. You don't want it. By what? Next year, thanks to the 2020 deal, I think the minimum salary next year, they can't.
But I'm thinking about the TV contract.
They're definitely going to opt out of TV. They're going to opt out of TV. But I think guaranteed minimums for rookies is going to be over $1 million.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, so I think one card the players have is to say, man, we're good. Don't need 18. We're good. Once they say that, you will see what the real owners act like.
Oh, you already know. Oh, we locking you out. We lock it again. That's why it's like I wish the players would understand, because, well, first of all, the one thing I'm really, one thing I tell people, and this is true in Kansas City, because when they didn't approve the stadium stuff, Clark just Mark Donovan to a T. I told Donovan, I texted him, I said, look, I know politics. I said, I know what you did, and I'm not mad at you because you had to do what was best for Clark Hunt. I said, and you did exactly what you were supposed to do. I said, but damn. I said, so when you run for governor, I'm not going to doubt you that you can win this thing. I said, because I know how shrewd you were.
100%.
They're going to lock these players out. And the thing is, if these players don't have sound people around them that manage their money and stuff, and look, we had this conversation because
I went through it.
Yeah, I mean,
I went through it. But
we can say it all the time to the blue in the face.
You know what?
I'm not going to do it.
One of the things that you talk about regrets, and I go back and forth. I was a big fan of 10-year deals. Why? Because the owners can't take anything away from you.
Yeah.
Right. I know how we spend a lot of money and a lot of diligence doing a lot, hiring the right people, doing the right analysis on revenue, TV deals, so we can make pretty good projections about what's going to happen if there's labor peace for 10 years. And the difference between a 5-year, 3-year, 5-year, or 10-year contract in the matter of terms of economics is literally billions of dollars.
Yeah.
If you have a 10-year deal. One regret, and I wouldn't change it. I would still do a 10-year deal. But one byproduct of a 10-year deal is 3 generations of players have never seen the owners pull their guns on them. 3 generations. Mike Vrabel saw them pull the guns. Brian Dawkins sitting in that room staring down Jerry Jones, with Jerry literally doing this, a fist bump in front of Brian Dawkins' face, saying, you boys don't understand that we're going to lock you out. Kevin Mawai saw the guns turn on him. Dominic Foxworth saw the guns.
Tony Richardson,
my God. Zach Diassi, all those guys saw the same owner that comes down after the game.
Yeah.
I love you. How the kids.
God.
Hey, we're so proud of you. Yeah. All those guys. No, everybody saw 31 turn into who they really are.
Look, I have no problem saying it. I like Clark Hunt. I actually love Clark. Clark Hunt's a good man, but I also know what he is too.
I know what he is,
and that's what. Look, we sit in the press conference, we chit chat, but I know I know how ruthless he can be in that room.
As I would say, he and I both know each other well. We'll leave it at that. Leave it at that. So, players haven't sat in a room where
Patrick Mahomes has never seen Clark in that manner.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
No, I know he hasn't. Not in that manner.
But guys like Babin did.
Yeah.
Because they were at the meetings and Dustin Colquitt and those guys. So until you realize the collective power of 31 billionaires. And their ability, look, guys would freak out today. The National Football League cut off the health insurance to the players during the lockout. We had more than a dozen women who were due to give birth that lost their health care. The owners did that. If you had a child who was special needs, you lost your insurance. If you had a kid getting sickle cell treatment, you lost your insurance. That's who these guys are. So when I see a player in the media, like I saw a few days ago, say, you know, we're interested in an executive director who is going to get along with these people and maybe has a better way of talking to them in a way that's less combative. All I can say is I don't understand you, because I know the history of labor in this country is warfare. I know that we have exit signs because literally unions went to war. We have fire escapes because unions went to war. We have a 40-hour work week because unions went to war. Paternity leave,
ramps.
maternity leave, ramps, everything that has come to make the workplace better. Fair housing and fair hiring laws. If a player can't understand and get their head around how ruthless these cats are, black coaches went 0 for 10.
I was going to ask you about that.
0 for 10. I'll take it one step further. Every state that these teams are located in have fair hiring laws that require employers to comply with a certain number of obligations. I know for a matter of fact that the National Football League and these teams don't do that. So not only do they not hire, they go 0 for 10, where the majority of the players in this league are black or players of colors.
Thank you.
They go 0 for 10 when a lot of these players, coaches, candidates are former players. They do it knowing that they're in violation of state law. And you know what? Nobody comes after them. Not one. How much power do you have to have if you are likely running afoul of state fair hiring laws and you know nobody's going to touch you?
I saw a report yesterday, and I can't remember where I saw it, but I don't know if it was a post, whatever, but I saw what the NFL gets when it comes to bidding Super Bowls to these cities.
Yep.
The amount of money that they get or that they make, and they pay 0 taxes, pay 0 of anything, get security, hotels, use of the stadium 30 days before, 24 days after, 3 golf courses, 2 bowling alleys, everything for free.
Look, again, my job, and again, I know that I made players angry because I would roll into a locker room and everybody got a little bit of Nat Turner, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah. But that's a good thing.
It's a good thing. Somebody has to teach you, and somebody has to shock you out of this comfort level.
Ambivalence.
Yes. Man, we are in California. When someone gets their hands on the Super Bowl package that the state and city need to provide to the owners in order to get the Super Bowl. My point to the players was you can sit there and you can, sort of be, you can be sort of Joey Jr. private equity guy, right? Because you read Fast Company magazine. That's one way of looking at it. The other way of looking at it is, how much power do you have to have in order to show up in a city like Los Angeles and make people give you things for free? So at the end of the day, man, it's okay if you want to think that you need to have someone who can put their arm around some owners because you think that person can whisper some magic words. All I can tell you is I don't understand that factually, historically.
It's not even accurate. it just,
or even accurately.
Yeah.
Right. And study your history. I love this union. I love the players. I loved teaching them, even though at times I'm sure they didn't want it. But I will say this: 2030 is shaping up when this collective bargaining agreement ends. 2030 will shape up to be the largest land grab back from players in history.
I don't even think technically while it has to be 2030, I think look, depending on what the leadership looks like, it could happen earlier than that.
It could. I mean, look, teams are, here's what's crazy. So, we changed the rules in 2011, where you now have to spend the cap in cash, not cap. Again, I know the rumors, and I've taken a look at some of the data. Teams are now spending 110% of the salary cap, which is great. They're overspending. It's fantastic. What does that mean? That means that even though players are supposed to be getting 48.5% of all the revenue, the overspending means that in this last deal, they're probably getting 49% of all the revenue. Highest revenue of any players in the world. The fact that they're overspending because the teams want to compete against each other. Players should be thrilled. You know who's not thrilled?
Owners.
And, we changed things in 2011 where they get less money off the cap, almost no money off the cap now, to build their own stadiums, right? Because back then, player money actually went into stadiums. What have you seen happen since then? Buffalo threatens to move in order to get a new stadium. Kansas City threatens to move, does move.
Well, they will move, yeah.
To get a new stadium. The Chargers have to leave San Diego and go to SoFi. The Rams leave St. Louis and go. Why are all of those things happening in a way where it never used to happen? Because we had a good enough player leadership in 2011 to say that we're not going to pay that kind of money off the cap anymore. So here's what we know. If you treat the owners like they are, if you understand who they are, it will inexorably only lead you to one way of dealing with them. And at the end of the day, that's necessarily going to mean, and it meant for me, that I was never going to be their friends. We don't do dinners. We don't hang out. We don't play golf.
Right.
We don't do, no. And for sure after they read the book.
Right.
Again, need somebody to start my car. But look, the reason why I love coming to talk to you is there are only a handful of people who care enough about journalism to stand 10 toes to the line on what that means. And I'll just do a quick shout out to my brothers and sisters at the Washington Post and what's happening to them. You want to understand billionaire power? They will crush you and sleep so well at night. And I'm proud of you, few handful of people here who care more about the facts than the entertainment.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, again, I like Clark Hunt as a person. I've never had any bad dealings with him. But I tell people, and I said on the air, I've said it on TV, I said, Chiefs Kingdom, if you really think Clark Hunt cares that much about you, he wouldn't have left Arrowhead Stadium to go to Kansas in 6 years, in 5 years.
Arrowhead is iconic.
Exactly. I mean, his father probably would have never left. But, hey, I mean, they care more, he cared more about that money and free money because they giving it to him.
Let's not forget, he comes from the family that tried to corner the silver market. There's not even, but I will put it this way. I've negotiated against Clark Hunt? We both know each other really well.
And I told him, I said, look, but Clark in public has a very quiet demeanor.
Oh,
quiet demeanor.
nice guy.
But I know behind that closed door, he don't, because hold on. There's a reason why he's the chair of the finance committee with the NFL. he knows what he's doing.
If players want to know, man, pick up the phone and call Richard Sherman about the meetings with the owners in 20 and in particular, I forget where we were, Jacksonville maybe, but a meeting between Clark Hunt and Jerry Jones. Pick up the phone, call some guys. Call Don Davis and ask him whether or not it's that whether they felt
I worked with his father.
It was a great dude. They're both great dudes. But call those two cats up and ask them just how warm and fuzzy was it.
I will do that. I'm gonna make sure I get in contact. I gotta make sure I get before I get you out of here, man.
Yeah.
I just trust me, I could talk to you for hours.
I know.
Man, I can talk to you for hours. What is what do you hope to see with this union between now and the end of this CBA agreement? Because I know it's broad, but I'm trying not to.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Because I don't want to get you in any trouble.
Yeah. So. I mean, I'm probably in enough trouble already, but as John Lewis would say and told me personally, every now and then it's good trouble.
Oh, got to.
Right. Here's what I would say. When I was running to be executive director, not knowing a lot about football, I spent so much time learning about John Mackey and all those players who sued the National Football League from 1971 to 1993. I knew about how unions work. And when you stand on picket lines like I did when I was the executive director, I'll never forget standing on a picket line with a few players. It was a group of mostly middle-aged women who made the ice cream cakes for Cold Stone. And they were marching around in the rain, whether the sprinklers were on or not, without work, for $1 raise. So, for me, there is a solid line between labor in the country. There's a solid line between labor and the civil rights movement. There's a solid line between the fact that everything that anyone has ever gotten as a group of workers has come with a level of sacrifice. Yeah. I made it clear to the players that most of them will never have to sacrifice anything. And that's a shame. So the future of the union, my hope would be that every person who is involved in being, everybody who has the title of being involved as a leader wants to have the job. Two different things. A lot of cats want the title
and understand the job.
Oh, well, the job's not pretty.
Oh, the job, she can't be.
It's not
supposed to be.
And so we're sitting here. It's Black History Month. We're heading into the 10th year anniversary of Colin Kaepernick. I was proud that the union fought that fight.
I am too.
I was proud that, when I was there, we jumped into fighting the league on behalf of cheerleaders who were getting paid less than minimum wage. We fought the fight. I tried to unionize coaches for fair pay. I didn't do all those things because I thought those were fun things for D. Smith to do. I did them because that's our fight. That's our fight. All of that is our fight. It's the fight of a group of people who work for a living versus a group of people who own for a living. And if you can't get your head around that is a perpetual fight to the death, then man, you might have the right title, but perhaps you're in the wrong job.
Took the words right out of my mouth.
Always love you.
Love you too, man. There's just one last quick question.
I got one too, but go ahead.
I was going to ask you your thoughts, because I know Patrick is a player rep. I think he's an alternate rep now. But to me, it seems that it's hard for an NFL starting quarterback to be on the executive committee or executive leadership, because they seem to have that quote unquote close relationship with the because trust me, when I'm in the tunnel, Patrick and them coming up, the first person to greet him before he gets to the locker room, Clark Hunt, and it's just like because we had the conversation, of course, draft day of these rookies. Look, that's almost.
I would say.
What's your question?
I would say this. Yeah, we can go all day. I would say this. Look, I think Patrick's a great dude, and I think he's a good man. But I also worked with some group people. Drew Brees, was on the executive committee that hired me. Andrew Luck came to rep meeting. When we needed someone to stand up and fight for us.
I'm about to die, so my power's about to go out. So I want to make sure I get your question.
Tom Brady came through for us when we needed it, and Fitzpatrick came through us. I love leadership, right? So I'll end on this. I need to come to Kansas City to do a book deal. Do a book event. So let's find. Oh, in fact, if they want to do it at Gates,
done.
Let's do the book event at Gates.
Okay.
And man, I would dig it. I would absolutely dig it.
Okay. Well, we'll talk off air.
Done.
Appreciate
you, man.
DeMaurice Smith, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. Enjoy this weekend.
Thank you for this.
You're quite welcome.
Man, bro, appreciate it.